Saki mbwembwe na kwele mchele kwa kuku kumwaga. Zako na wapenda yatusema nitasikia.
My name is Iver. I'm Danish, and I've spent the past 16 years in Africa, mostly in Tanzania, now in Kenya, and I also do some business in Zimbabwe. For the whole period I've been in Africa, I've been an entrepreneur, and initially I came to Tanzania as a student back in 2004. And then in 2006, I started a textile factory, manufacturing responsibly manufactured garments for export. I studied law, and there was a court, a commercial court that had been established in Tanzania in 2000, with the support of Danita. So my friend and I decided to go and do our thesis about this court. So we spent 6 months in Dar es Salaam working with the court, and I got to know a little bit more about Tanzania, and I thought there were a lot of possibilities. So that's why we decided to come back, and we started the textile factory in 2007. And we had that until 2012, where unfortunately we had to shut down due to financial crisis and the whole textile industry having suffered severely. So, but it was a good introduction. It was a tough introduction to doing business in Africa, and it definitely taught me a lot. Anyone who invests in Africa will have to go through some of all those experiences, regardless of whether you're on your own or if you're part of a big company or an organization. You will have to pay those school fees. We definitely did that. And at the same time, I also decided that since I had already gone through this and I paid my school fees, it would be better for me to stay in Africa and use some of the experience and the knowledge I had. And that's what I did. To me, it's always been about starting brands, telling stories in a different way, trying to disrupt some of the very conservative businesses that or industries in Africa that, for example, the mining sector, which is probably one of the most male-dominated and possibly also the most conservative industry, where everyone is doing it the way they've always done it. And there's hardly anyone in this industry who hasn't been there for generations. I didn't have a background in mining. When I started dealing with gemstones in 2008, I didn't know anything about it. So it's been a big learning curve, and it also gave me the strength of seeing things in a different way and having a different take on the whole industry. And that's why what I do is very different from many other people. We tell stories, basically, and we create pieces that have a story. And we believe that through gemstones and minerals, we can actually create a business model where everyone in the value chain can benefit. The way to do that is obviously two things. It's cutting out links from the value chain so that it becomes shorter, so that there's more profit to be shared between the links that are still there. And then it's basically creating a brand, creating a name that people can know and people can follow, and something that can allow people to see some of all the good things that we see in Africa, some of the funny things, some of the beautiful things, and that's what we try and tell a positive story, basically. And there are lots of positive stories. So it's a shame that most of the things that people get to know in the outside world is about poverty and disease and struggles. This is basically what we have done. We didn't have any money when we started. We didn't have any experience, so it's all been on-the-job training. and just believing in what we were doing. I think in this world, it's all about finding your passion, discovering what it is that you really love doing. And that when you love doing something and you do it in a way where it doesn't become a chore, it doesn't become a job, you do it because you just love it and you find it interesting or funny or whatever it is, then you also tend to become very good at it. And and it took me a long time to discover what I really like to do. Um, I've always been very adventurous, and going on expeditions in the jungle and things like that has always been something I've done. Even when I had the textile factory, that was like how I spent my free time. Um, Gemstones became my access to that. It gave me the possibility of going on expeditions and adventures and meeting people on different levels in different places in the world. It became my ticket, basically. So I discovered at a quite late stage in life what my passion was. And I was then brave enough to pursue it and stick with it. So that's what I did. And that's how in 2008 I had a friend who was a gem dealer, and he told me everything there was to know about gemstones at that time. And then he told me, actually, you cannot study this. You have the best way of getting to know it is by doing it. One of the beauties of Africa is that people are not scared of going into industries that they're not used to being in. Because where I come from, you don't change your industry. You stay with what you have studied, and that's what you do. Or, some people, there might be a little diversion, but mostly people do what they have always done or what you have been brought up to do. In Africa, we don't really have that. It's people are not really scared of engaging in things where they're completely new. And I think there's a certain beauty to that, and that's how you get the chance to explore yourself and find out what it is you're good at. Unfortunately, in most African cultures, work is viewed more as a chore. It's not viewed as something you should enjoy. But having said that, I've met a lot of passionate people, and it's always intriguing and admirable when you meet someone who's just doing things because this is what they love to do. It's kind of a coincidence that we discovered this place where we are, but having dealt with gemstones for a long time and people at the source, we saw that there was some potential, and we also identified a need for creating opportunities for women in this place. So that's what we did, and it's been very tough to start a mine from scratch, and we started it on a pretty tight budget, but still, it's still a lot of money it takes to start a mine, especially if you do it officially. But so far I've started, what is it, 3 or 4 businesses in Africa, and my second business was actually a brand called Uru, where we made these bracelets out of fishing line, and then we took gemstones and cast it into gold and silver, and we created these bracelets that became a big success in East Africa, and today a lot of people are copying them. But we started that at a point of time in our lives where we had absolutely nothing. We were 3 friends doing it. We had one guy we employed who was sitting under a palm tree at the beach. And then we did all the metal work in my friend's apartment. And we were so passionate about it that, the money didn't matter. We just found a way. We just hustled. And I think it's an important message for people to understand that if you are passionate about something, if you really, really want it and you keep trying, you can make it. We basically made the first collection of, I think we made like 10 bracelets. We sold them, and then we made 20 bracelets, sold them. Then we made 30 bracelets, sold them, and that's how we started. And in the beginning, everyone were laughing at us, and all the jewelers in Dar es Salaam said, "We'll never put this in our store." And 2 years down the line, they're all calling us, begging us to give them to them. So you know, it's important to believe in what you're doing, and you have to, of course, also be sure that you're working right and smart, so that you know the project that you choose to work on is a good business, or it's a good idea. But if you really believe in it, then you also need to go for it, and it can take time and it can be very tough, but you can do it. You know, you have to identify what your advantages are and what your strengths and weaknesses are.
Mm-hmm.
And mine is definitely, I've always been good at telling stories, and I've always been good at creating brands. And I have a very big network that I've tapped into. And I think that mostly comes from not being scared of anything, and not being scared of reaching out to people. Um, and then yeah, it's that you have to find out what you're good at, and you have to find out where where there's a way for you, because you know it also doesn't help to have a passion for becoming a lawyer if you haven't studied law. You know, there are certain things in life where you have to know that this is difficult. But I do think that in today's world, especially right now, uh, if you are if you're African, um, and you have a good idea that involves a good story, sustainability, and traceability, then I think you can really reach really far. There's a lot of support for that kind of stuff out there. Everyone is looking for a success story. So I think it's important never to come up with excuses for yourself. I can't do this because I'm this or because I'm that. There's none of that. We all have the same chances in this world. You know, obviously for the guy with no legs, it's more challenging to run a marathon, but anything is possible.
Nanipaga moyo nikianza kulia chozi nafutia,